Activate the cave. Welcome to the cave of the dog shark. Hello, I wanted to talk about something which I consider to be somewhat of a serious issue, specifically something that affects guitar players and their mental health. Now, the reason I want to discuss this is I'm struggling with these issues myself at the moment, and one perhaps wanted to somewhat therapeutize myself by talking about it, putting a video out there, perhaps acquiring some sympathetic comments from people, and see perhaps if anyone can help. Certainly I'm willing to lend my aid to anybody who finds themselves perhaps suffering from these ailments, and if I can help, I will. So what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is gear acquisition syndrome. Now, if you're not familiar with it, and I'm sure many of you already are, gear acquisition syndrome, otherwise known as GAS, is something that strikes guitar players, and I'm sure other musicians as well, but this seems to be something that is very prolific amongst the guitar player community. Gear acquisition syndrome is that syndrome you get when you must have a new thing, a new guitar, amplifier, pedal, plectrum, whatever it might be, and for one reason or another you may or may not be in a position to acquire said instrument, and so there's a period of suffrage where you want the thing but you don't have the thing, and in that time you are suffering. You want it, you must have it, and it becomes an obsession. It takes over your life. You spend countless hours poring over internet marketplaces like Facebook Marketplace and Reverb and Gumtree and all those things, and trying to find the perfect guitar that will satisfy your GAS needs. Now, that's one ailment. Now, my particular personal moment in life, I find myself suffering from not just GAS, but another ailment, and this is again common and prolific amongst the guitar playing community. The second ailment I'm talking about is what I call guitar players' remorse. Now, might make sense to you. You might know what that is already, but let me explain. It's when you've had something and you let something go, and you totally regret it. You want the thing back. You're full of remorse. So that, if that strikes, that can also then often lead to GAS. If you decide that that thing you let go has to be acquired again or perhaps replaced. So it can be a tough position to be in. Certainly the remorse thing is bad enough. You had that thing that you loved, or for one, maybe didn't appreciate at the time you had it, and you let the thing go, and sometime later you've decided, fuck, why the hell did I let that thing go? So maybe story time. Let me explain to you how I find myself in this awful predicament. So many years ago, we're talking 20 plus years ago, I got my hands on brand new, beautiful, made in Japan Fender Stratocaster. It was at the time, I remember, there was no internet, there was no marketplaces, you couldn't get your hands on the specific catalogue, so you weren't even sure of the exact spec of these things. I literally had a forward listing in a magazine on some retailer's page that said, this is a guitar and this is how much it is, and it was listed as a white Hendrix Fender Stratocaster. Now the Hendrix part, I never really understood entirely what that meant and what was specifically Hendrixy about it, but what it was very beautiful, very nice guitar that I did appreciate at the time, but perhaps didn't understand perhaps the collectability of Japanese guitars and where that would evolve to in years to come. And certainly now later in life, having it disappear out of my life, I very much miss it, and I really wish I'd have kept it. Now, the story behind that one was, you know, I needed a bit of cash back at the time. I had it at a time when I was just getting into playing professionally, and I felt at the time I needed to have some different gear, some better gear. Needed to free up some cash, so I let that one go. It ended up with another family member of mine, but then they had a tragic house fire and the thing got lost and it was gone. That was it, no more. So here's the thing, the remorse to some degree will never be alleviated, because simply that exact guitar is gone. Now, you're lucky if you suffer from guitar player's remorse. You're extremely lucky if you decide you want to try and find your old guitar, the specific one, the exact one that had the cigarette burns in the headstock and the dings out where you leant it up against amps and all that stuff. And if you can find your old guitar, then you've been really, really lucky. And often these things disappear into the universe and you never see them again. So that led, obviously, that developed my GAS symptoms also, and I then began the hunt for finding a guitar that was enough like the one I had previously in the past, that would satisfy both the GAS and try and alleviate somewhat the remorse. And so yeah, that's where I find myself right now. I really wish I still had this old guitar, and I'm trying to find one that will help me feel like I've kind of got the same guitar again, and I'll be happy for 5 minutes until I decide I need to buy something else. So yeah, let me tell you a little bit about the actual guitar itself. It was like I say, it was a Japanese Strat. So not understanding too much about the specifics of it, having now decided to try and find one again, I started to look into what it was exactly, and what I ended up discovering was that specifically it was what's called an ST67 model Strat, and there's just fucking none to be had out there. I'm extremely annoyed because one actually did come up on Facebook Marketplace just a few days ago, last week sometime. And the guy was asking great money for it, reasonable money. Some people are asking stupid money for Jap Strats at the moment. This guy was asking reasonable money, and I messaged him as soon as I saw it. What's going on? Have you got it? And he messaged me back a short while ago. It had already gone. The listing had only been up a handful of hours, and somebody had obviously recognised the quality of this thing and had just snapped it up just like I was trying to. A little bit annoyed that I missed out on that one, because that would have just done it perfect. So I find myself battling with compromise. I can't seem to find the exact one. So what can I do? What is it about that original guitar that I must have that would satisfy me if I bought something that matched, the spec? So specifically what that guitar had was it was a very classic sort of late 60s era Strat, 67, sort of a 67 to 69 model Strat. It had the big CBS era 70s sort of style headstock on it, 21 fret neck, vintage white body, and traditional sort of 6-point tremolo system, triple single coils, all that good stuff. But it also had somewhat of a unique feature. The neck itself didn't have any access to the truss rod in the headstock, so it had this nice clean, unbroken sort of swoop up the headstock away from the nut. And it also, in difference to the majority of Strats out there, had a sort of a solid coloured back neck. It didn't have that skunk stripe that the back of Strat necks have, where they cover the truss rod cavity. So it was a very clean looking neck, a beautifully straight looking, clean looking neck, and a classic Strat style body with all of the regular appointments. Now, so here's where I'm trying to struggle with the compromise of this thing. There are other guitars out there that kind of tick those boxes, that have the shape headstock I like, and the 6-point tremolo and the 21 frets and all that, but there tends to be something slightly different about all of them. that perhaps make me feel like I'd be maybe compromising too much. Call me as, cork sniffer, whatever you like. Sometimes when you just want something, it just has to be right. The closest thing that you can possibly find to this is the slightly later model Japanese one, which is the ST68, which is basically the exact same guitar with all the exact same appointments, except the difference is the old 67 has the original sort of Clusen Deluxe style tuners, where the 68 has the F-style Fender tuners. Now, and here's the funny thing, I kind of bought that guitar, the original one, back in the day because I was a huge Hendrix fan, still am, and I wanted a guitar that was as close to his Woodstock guitar as possible, and that's what that was. It was bang on. But having kind of looked into it a bit more and realised the more of the specifics, actually the 68 would have been the more accurate one, given that if you can spot it, the Strat Hendrix was playing at Woodstock had the F-style tuner. So there you go, that's how deep my geek goes. I'm checking out the tuners on the back of the headstock, making sure that I understand which ones he had. So in hindsight, had I gone back in time and said to myself, which one do you want, I'd have tried to find the 68 and not the 67 that I actually got. But it was the 67 that I want. Now I remember loving and having and playing, and it was great. But the 67s are just really difficult to find. There does seem to be a few more 68s out there, but the price on them is daft. Or they're only available from Japan, and the much newer models, and I don't really want the newer model. I want the original sort of age that I had, which was mid-90s. So here's where this gear acquisition syndrome becomes a living fucking nightmare, because you've got all these factors playing around in your head. I've already got Strats, so it's just another Strat I'm getting, and I've got other guitars and all that stuff, so I don't need another guitar, but I want it. I just want it so much, and I want it to be specific. I want it to be the right one. If I'm going to drop coin, I need it to be just the right fucking thing. But again, if they're not there, they're not there, and I have to wait. This is the danger of gear acquisition syndrome. Do you compromise and in favour of getting something sooner, and you've got something in your hands, and you've somewhat alleviated yourself of some of the pressures of it, or do you exercise patience and do you wait and you wait to see if that perfect guitar comes up? I like so many guitars. If I bought a guitar that wasn't quite the one, would I still like it? Probably. Would I still be looking out for that original one? Yes. And if it came up, would I buy that? Probably yes too. So you just don't know where you're going with this from one minute to the next. That's the problem. This is where the people like me with this particular problem perhaps need a bit of fucking help. So I don't know what to do. So there's lots of other compromises I can make in searching for this. Do I just want a Strat that has that nice fat headstock, the big 70s chunky CBS style headstock? There's lots of different options there. There's a load of Mexi-made ones. There's the old Classic series, which was then replaced by the Vintera. They do a 70s style Strat that basically is exactly what I want, apart from it has the bullet truss rod instead of the clean look. But otherwise it's pretty much the guitar I want, but it isn't the Japanese made one, it's the Mexican made one. But it's a newer Mexican made one, which is good and maybe on a par from a build quality point of view than a Japanese one. But the Japanese one's slightly more desirable because it has a bit of a legendary status these days. It's just, my head's a fucking mess basically. Then you've got the Deluxe Roadhouse Strat, again Mexi made, which from an appointment point of view it's alright, but has an extra fret, 22 fret instead of 21, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I've got 22 fret Strats, don't need another one. I kind of like the look of the slightly shorter neck on a 21 fret Strat. That's the classic Strat style, Strat look. They didn't introduce the 22nd fret until much later in production. I think it was in the 80s sometime, before they introduced the 22nd fret to a Strat. So do I need that 22nd fret? Not really. Do I want it? It wouldn't kill me, but I would prefer, a more classic style looking neck. Not only that, the Deluxe Roadhouse has some funky electronics going on that lets you do some funky stuff with the pickups. I'm not sure exactly what. So it's not traditional in that sense either. So probably the Deluxe Roadhouse is the furthest compromise I'd be willing to make. Has the headstock, kind of has the look, it's available in the right colour, but everything else is all a bit messed up, and it's got a fucking battery compartment in the back of it, and that would just do my head in every time I saw that. So this is the problem I have. This is the depth of my depravity and my issues when it comes to gear acquisition syndrome, coupled with guitar players' remorse. I'm struggling. I really am. So what do? I mean, I'm asking. What do people think I should do? Do you think I should wait to see if one comes up? That's the exact one that I want. I mean, the one came up last week, and I missed it by minutes. I might not see another one for years, and I can't suffer from this ailment for that long. It's going to kill me. It's going to kill my wife specifically. She's very frustrated with me right now because every time she turns around, all my attention is on my phone, checking Marketplace, checking Reverb, checking wherever, eBay, trying to find anything. You know, I've even gone as far into looking to buying the separate components, a neck, a body, and all that, building one up myself. But I don't know. I really don't know which way to go. So here I am, struggling, and let me just say that, you know, if anybody else out there has suffered from similar ailment and similarly similar obsessions and problems with these two very serious mental health issues, you know, I really feel for you and I really sympathise with you. And you know, if you want to reach out to me and talk about it, you know, maybe we can start some sort of gear acquisition guitar players remorse / support group where we can hold each other's hands and rub each other's backs and tell each other it's gonna be okay, as long as you know, you find that guitar eventually. In the meantime, I've got cash burning a fucking hole in my pocket, and do I just go out and buy something that's nice and I like? Because believe me, the list of guitars that I would like to have is as long as my fucking belly is round, you know. And I could get something today that I would think, oh, that's a really nice guitar, I'm so glad I bought that, but it wouldn't be that one that I want more than any other. And I don't know. I mean, really, what do you do? I haven't got the answers. I'm just doing this as a way to get it out, maybe work out a few demons, and maybe, like, you know, give myself a bit of a break from it for 5 minutes. Having talked about it, maybe I can go and pay attention to something else and feel okay for 5 minutes. I don't know. If anyone's got any suggestions, tell me, please let me know. Comment in the comments below, whatever you do. Well, actually, more importantly, if anybody's got one of these fucking ST67s that I must have, give me a shout. You know, maybe we can do a deal. If you want to, if you're not fussed about it, you want to get rid, you want some coin in your pocket, come and see me. So here we go. I don't know how to wrap this fucking video up. I mean, it's just me chatting shit about a guitar that I want. I don't know if it's any interest to anybody. Thanks for watching if you've made it this far, and you know, maybe give my channel a subscribe. I promise I'll be putting more and better content out in the near future. I've kind of had things on pause for a little while I've had some things going on in the background, trying to sort out some scenarios and situations that needed dealing with, but they seem to be resolving now, so I should be able to get back on with having fun with guitars and creating more content and stuff. Give us a shout if anything in this video compels you to do so. Otherwise, you know, if you're struggling like me with these things, my my sympathies are with you, and you know, I'm there for you if you need me, if you think I can help in any way. But yeah, so thanks for watching. I think I'm going to sign off there. So yeah, wish me luck, boys and girls.